Oh, hi there. We don't know each other, do we? My name's Simon, but these days most people just call me Peter. I used to be a fisherman, but nowadays I follow the most amazing man. His name is Jesus. Have you heard of him? You see, I was mending my fishing nets with my brother Andrew, and he came up behind us and made the most outrageous request. He said, drop what you're doing, drop those nets, drop the equipment, drop everything, and come with me, and I will make you fish for people. Well, this was kind of crazy. I had no idea what to say, what to do, but there was something about him. I'll never be able to put my finger on it, but we agreed. And I tell you, I have never had cause to regret that decision since. Nowadays, we travel from town to town and village to village, and he performs the most wonderful miracles. He heals people. I can't believe it. He heals anything. He's healed a man. I've seen him heal a man that was lame, one that was deaf or blind or caught with a fever or a paralytic. He's even cast out demons. You name it, he can heal it. And nowadays, the people around us, they're becoming more aware. The crowds are getting bigger. They want to come and see for themselves. And some, no doubt, come in the hopes that they can get close enough to Jesus to be healed themselves of their particular disease or affliction. And as we travel from town to town along the roads, there's plenty of time to talk. And Jesus has taught us so many wondrous things. For example, he's taught us how to pray. He's taught us what the kingdom of heaven is like. He's taught us how to lead a faithful life. And usually, when he's teaching us these things, he does it in the form of telling us parables. Now, do you know what a parable is? It's kind of a story with a moral or a particular message that is important to convey. And sometimes it's pretty straightforward, and most anybody can figure out what the parable's all about. But there are other times when it gets all convoluted, and I confess I haven't got a clue what Jesus is trying to teach us with some of these convoluted parables. But I am very thankful that Jesus is with us and is willing to help us interpret them. Well, one day we had reached a place where Jesus was going to do some preaching, and it turned out that there was a huge crowd that came, maybe close to 5,000 people. And things were going along well, and then by mid-afternoon, late afternoon, we started to kind of get hungry a little bit, and I think Jesus was hungry, and he finally turned to us and said, we better feed these people. I want you to prepare a meal to feed all the people here. I said, all 5,000 of them? All we have are 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And he just kind of smiled and blessed the food and said, please prepare it and distribute it. Well, by golly, I haven't got a clue how it happened, but we did that, and every single person was fed to capacity. And not only that, we ended up with 12 full baskets full of leftovers. Well, after this, as you might imagine, Jesus was kind of tired, and he wanted to go off by himself and pray. He does that from time to time. And so he asked the rest of us to go back to the boat down at the seashore and take off, and that he would catch up with us later. And so that's what we did. We went down, all of us got into that little boat and took off, and no sooner were we out of sight of land than the wind started to blow, and the waves were choppy, and the rain came, and before we knew it, we were in the middle of a big storm, and all of us were afraid that our little boat would capsize. And then, out of the darkness, there appeared what first looked like a ghost, but as he came closer, we saw that it was Jesus, and he was walking on the water. Oh, and I immediately jumped up and I said, Lord, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water. Well, he spread his arms and he said, come. So I jumped out of the boat and started walking to him on the water. Now this was really cool because I was walking on the water and I looked down to see that, and then I began to get a little scared because, why? Well, because I was walking on the water. And the more fear that kept into me, I began to sink. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And just as I was about to go under, Jesus grabbed my arm, brought me safely back to the boat. Shaking his head, he said, "Oh, man of little faith, why did you doubt?" Well, we got back on the boat, and as soon as we stepped foot on the boat, the rain stopped, the wind stopped, the waves stopped, and it was perfectly quiet. And we just looked at him and worshiped him and said, "You are the Son of God." And I knew at that point that I really needed the healing that only Jesus could provide, because my faith was weak. I believed, but I couldn't believe all the way. My faith was weak, and I knew that Jesus could heal me. He could provide the spiritual healing that I needed. Well, soon after that, we were back on the road again and on the way to Caesarea Philippi. And Jesus stopped and in the middle of the road, turned to us and said, "Now all the men in the crowds that we see, who do you think they think I am?" And we had several answers for him. Some people thought that you were John the Baptist. Others thought that you might be Elijah or Jeremiah come back to life. And he nodded his head and then turned back to us and said, "But who do you think that I am?" Well, that was an easy one for me. I jumped up immediately and I said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And he turned to me, put his hands on my shoulders, looked me in the eye, smiled, and said, "Blessed are you, Simon. You shall be called Peter, the rock, and you will be the foundation on which my church is built, and you shall have the keys to the kingdom." Whoa, I was flabbergasted. I had so many emotions running through me. I didn't know what to think, didn't know what to say. I was elated, I was thrilled, I was excited, and I was scared because I wasn't sure that I had the abilities and the what it takes to do all the things that he said. And then he kept on talking, and he was talking about how he was going to have to suffer and die and then be raised again on the third day. And this did not sound at all right to me. So I said, "Lord, this shall never happen to you." And you know what he said to me? He chastised me, and then he said, "Get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance," he said to me. I could not figure. 1 minute, there I was Peter, the rock, the foundation on which he was going to build his church, the holder of the keys to the kingdom, and then Satan and a hindrance. I was so confused, so confused. My faith was weak. My self-determination and it was so lacking. But on the other hand, Jesus clearly believed in me. He had the faith in me that I lacked myself. Dear gracious God, I pray that you will strengthen my faith and allow me to realize the abilities to lead your church that you think that I have, or that you know that I have already. Help me to find them myself so that I can be the strong and effective leader that you expect me to be. Amen.